everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of my level 1 through 60 Orc Shaman playthrough in the Season of Discovery, where today is a very special episode because it is the first episode of Phase 4 of Season of Discovery, where if you look in front of us, there's a level 53 and a level 54, and I'm sure there are a ton of level 60s on this server right now, where this is the first phase of Season of Discovery, where players can reach the maximum level, which is level 60, and can begin doing some like in-game content like Molten Core and Onyxia's Lair, where today we are starting the final stretch of this Let's Play series, where I've been leveling all the way through in the open world, and I've been exploring a bunch of different parts of World of Warcraft and of the Horde and of the Season of Discovery, where today we are currently level 50 and we are going to be making progress towards level 60 in the next few episodes up until the point we reach level 60 and eventually conclude this Let's Play series, where basically we are going to be doing the same exact thing that I have been doing so far in this Let's Play series. And looking forward in the future of World of Warcraft, I am planning on changing some things up in our future Let's Play series. But so far we're just going to close this one out, kind of doing the same old, where today I want to go ahead and head over towards the Eastern Kingdoms, where I've been wanting to spend most of my time focusing on Kalimdor, where this is probably going to be the last episode where I spent a ton of time in the Eastern Kingdoms, and then I'll probably spend a little bit more time here and there in a future couple of episodes, as I want to spend most of our time in Kalimdor here on out. But today I want to go ahead and explore a zone that is a very cool zone for the Horde, and is kind of a cool zone for the Alliance, which we explored on our human mage character, but it is very different from the Horde perspective, so I wanted to go and check it out, and that is the Hinterlands, where this is a very cool zone, where we have Airy Peak on the western side here, which is a massive dwarven stronghold of the Wildhammer dwarves, and then we have a Raven Tusk village, I think is the name, which is over here on the eastern side, and in the middle are a bunch of quests we can do. So I'm going to go ahead, head over towards Raven Tusk village. We can pick up all these quests, we can begin doing all these quests, and I want to go ahead and talk about a few different things with the Season of Discovery and World of Warcraft. But first, we need the Zeppelin, which I don't know why I was at the Gromgo one. I should probably come over here to the Undercity one, which is actually here right now, and it's also closer. So good thing I corrected my mistake there. And here we are in Terran Mill, which just seems to be a place that we keep returning to in this series, where we are not going to be exploring here because this is massively lower level than we currently are. But I'm going to go ahead and run up to the eastern side of this map, where we have a passage through the mountains that are going to take us into the Hinterlands, where it's located right behind Durnhold Keep, which is a very fun area. But there are a bunch of cool things to see on the way to Raven Tusk village, so let's go ahead and just check it all out. We have this level 26 Elder Grey Bear, and then right here we have a level 40 Wild Griffin. So we are beginning to transition into the zone of the Hinterlands, where we have Durnhold Keep right there and Thornton's Wall way over there, where I think it's kind of fun that we have some of these griffins that are like coming out into the Hillsbrad Foothills, where we have Kurdros and Granistad right there, which are two very cool griffins. But let's go ahead and go through this passage, which is a very fun passage, where Hinterlands actually looks pretty similar to the Hillsbrad Foothills as far as like zone transitions goes in this video game, but it definitely looks a little bit different, as we can kind of see the grass is changing to a little bit of a different green color. The trees are changing just a tiny bit, as we can see here. And we can enter the Hinterlands and reach this paved path right here, where let's go ahead and continue running through here, where we have some of these nice braziers and these fences, and I love this mossy log right here and all the grass and all the different details. And of course we have Airy Peak right there with a soaring razor beak and a massive griffin or eagle statue right there. And let's go ahead and continue down to this way, where Airy Peak, of course, is the home of the Wildhammer Dwarves. So I am not going to go in there, and I'm going to go ahead and go off this way, where I'm going to just run straight to Raven Tusk's village. I think there are some quests we could do along the way, where we could go talk to this person, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just pick up all the quests and then come out into the world and do these quests. where a lot of the mobs on this side of the map are actually pretty low level. We can see level 40, level 41, just a bunch of like lower level mobs. So some of these quests are actually going to be very easy, and I might even skip doing some of them. But then we have a lot of higher level quests over here, level 50 and level 48 and level 51 and whatnot. So there is a wide variety of different quests available in this map. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of the alliance quests here are like good for like level 45-ish players, where they range from like level 42 to like the highest level ones are like level 48, so maybe you want to be like a little bit higher level than that. But then we have the horde ones where there are a couple of lower level ones, like this level 42 one, this level 44, and this level 47, but most of them are around level 50, which makes this zone like good for like level 50 to like level 52 horde players. So there's just an interesting like difference going on between like the zone here, where it's kind of similar to Hillsbrad Foothills, where alliance players are like level 30 to 35 in Hillsbrad Foothills, and horde players are level 20 to level 30, where we kind of see that flipped here, where the horde players are higher level and the alliance players are a little lower leveled. But there is a massive stronghold here in the southeastern hinterlands, which alliance players will be doing at like around level 50, and it's kind of like the one exception to everything that I've said. But it is a massive elite area, which requires like a full group of 5 people, honestly, because it's probably one of the most challenging elite areas in the game, where you want that many people in order to complete that area, which I'm probably not going to be going into there because I don't really want to do elite areas in this series. But the Hinterlands is just a very, very beautiful zone, and I just absolutely love how this area looks. And there are some bio branch trolls there, and we can see coming up in front of us is that massive troll stronghold that I was talking about, which I am not going to be going into here, where we have some level 45 warriors, and they get higher and higher level as you progress up the city, because it's like multi-tiered, and it's very, very cool, but not something I'm going to be doing because it's an elite area. And I guess there's nothing really too special about that place other than it being super important for some quests, including a Zulfrak quest that takes you all over the world, where there are some Silvermane stalkers here. But we can go ahead and come down this dirt road to the overlooked cliffs, where we can see some troll ruins right here, and we can look down to see Raven Tusk Village with some horde banners way over there. So let's go ahead, run down here, and maybe if I see any of this lost grog, I can go ahead and pick it up on the way, because we do need to get to 12 of them, and I feel like most of the time I don't have too many problems with getting all the grog here, but there are a ton of players around here right now, so it might be something that I kind of just have to grab as I'm running through here multiple times. Where of course there are some turtles, including a very powerful turtle that maybe we'll kill. But the coolest part about this area, for me at least, is Raven Tusk's village, because this is a troll village, which we don't see too many of these in the game, where when we started our Let's Play series, we saw Sinjin village, and then there's the village in Desolus that I'm blanking, Shadowprey, I think? Yeah, Shadowprey village, and then we have a Raven Tusk village right here. So this is just another one of the troll villages in World of Warcraft, where there's like a couple more, but I just absolutely love kind of like the troll aesthetic, from the sense that there aren't too many villages in the game, so it always feels very, very special to like come to one of these. And especially if you're someone who likes fishing, because there are some special fishing quests that you can do to get like a special fishing rod at like this village, I think. And then if you go to Shadowprey village, you can learn how to fish better, I think. And then Sinjin village, I think you can learn how to fish there at Sinjin village. So troll villages are always just kind of like fun fishing areas. There's 4 out of 12 of the ports, so I think that's a good start. And let's go ahead and run into here, where we have Smith Slag Tree and a bunch of other characters, including a bunch of trolls dancing, which is fun. So let's go ahead and pick up all of these quests. Some of them is going to be going out into the world and killing some trolls, such as these cannibalistic cousins quests right here. So let's go ahead and grab that. And then we have a quest here where we can go ahead and kill some high elves at the High Elven Lodge. And then there are a ton of quests right here. Can we pick up all 4? We can pick up all 4. Wow, so we have a ton of quests right here to go ahead and kill different beasts around the map, where we need to kill griffins, and we need to kill wolves and owlkin, I believe. Let's run up here because I think there's one up here, or is it just some drummers? Okay, so there's just a few drummers right here playing these 3 different drums. So let's go ahead and ignore them for now. Where there is this call to arms quest right here, so I can go ahead and pick up those 2, and then I still have a few more quests left to pick up, so I might go ahead and try to get rid of a few quests, which I might go ahead and get rid of the ones that I just picked up where we needed to go into this elite area, because I'm not really planning on doing that, so that opens up a few things for us. And then we can also drop separation anxiety as well, because that's also going into that area. But I'll go ahead and pick up this elite quest, because maybe I'll do it since it's like right around here. And here's the quest where we can get a special fishing rod, Snapjaw's Mon, where we can get the Nat Pago's Extreme Angler FC 5000 limited edition, which is kind of a basic looking fishing rod, but is it cool because it gives you plus 25 fishing, and it's named after Nat Pago, of course. Got a riding raptor right there. Let's come into the inn where we have Lard, where Lard lost his lunch, and we can go ahead and retrieve that for him. Poor Lard. And then if we come up here, we have 2 more quests, where both of these are elite quests, so I think these are going into Genthil lore up here, so I'm going to go ahead and ignore those for now. And if I do end up going up there, we have these 5 quests that we can pick up and do in that area. And if you look at our map, we have a lot of quest markers that we can do, so I'm going to spend the next little while just doing a bunch of the quests around this map, and we can go ahead and gain some experience while we talk about the Season of Discovery and World of Warcraft. Where the first thing that I quickly want to go over is the Season of Discovery patch notes for Phase 4, which officially begun on July 11th, where on July 18th, the Tainted Scar and Stormcliff's raid instances become available, which is open world bosses becoming like instance based for people to be able to do. And then on July 25th, Onyx's Lair and the Molten Core raid instances will become available, where there are some general changes, such as how some of the previous mounts that you could get in the Season of Discovery, you can now upgrade from the 60% version to the 100% version, which is nice. And they have added a new version of the Warchief's Blessing for Alliance called the Might of Stormwind, which is good for Alliance players. But this did make its way to World of Warcraft era, and people are very, very frustrated about this, because this change, as well as a few other changes, are like changes that has happened to the vanilla era version of the game, and people are obviously very frustrated about that because they wanted the version that they were playing to stay the same version as it was. But rune engravings and discoveries, players may now earn additional runes for the cloak slot, as well as special weapon skills and spell school specialization runes for the ring slots. These runes are hidden in various places all across Azeroth, waiting to be discovered. Good luck and happy hunting. A number of former rune abilities have been converted to baseline abilities and are now learned via spellbooks. These and other special Season of Discovery spellbooks are available to purchase from Milton Sheaf in the Stormwind Keep Library in Stormwind for Alliance players, and from Zor Lone Tree at Grommash Hold in the Valley of Wisdom in Orgrimmar for Horde players. Players can now discover a method to unlock the ability for utilize a second priest-specific racial ability, such as Fear Ward, Devouring Plague, and Star Shards. Then we have the new raids coming to Season of Discovery, where the Sunken Temple, which is the Phase 3 raid, now provides a sizable amount of experience points for bosses when each boss is killed, and the Sunken Temple raid now resets twice per week, where there has been a few balancing and tweaking to the raids and raid loot, and a new max level dungeon has been added to the game. Players will need to explore Azeroth to discover how to attune to and access this new dungeon. And then we have a new world event. A new timed event has been added to the Searing Gorge, Blackrock Mountain, and Burning Steps Blackrock Eruption. Every 2 hours, Blackrock Mountain will become unstable, causing additional spawns to appear and adding additional environmental hazards to certain areas. While the event is active, players will gain access to a number of daily quests that will award reputation with the Thorian Brotherhood and Hydraxian Waterlords. Participating in a daily quest and killing certain event-specific creatures in these zones will reward players with Firelands Embers, which can be exchanged along with Thorian Brotherhood crafted items to upgrade said crafted items into stronger variants. These items may be exchanged at Loktos Stark Bargainer in Blackrock Depths. While the event is active, player kills award 0 honor in Searing Gorge or Burning Steps. However, player kills award triple honor inside Blackrock Mountain itself. And the Nightmare Incursion event and quests have been adjusted. The repeatable mission quests have been converted to daily quests and may no longer be repeated multiple times on the same day. Daily quests now have a maximum level and can no longer be obtained. For Fearless and Hinterlands, this is level 53. And then there have been changes to reputations, where the Argent Dawn and Timbermaw Hold factions quartermaster vendors now allow players to exchange the base version of the crafted reputation items that they had previously offered, along with some other thematically appropriate materials for high-quality epic versions of those same items. And finally, additional rewards have been added for earning different levels of Hydraxian Waterlord's reputation. Duke Hydraxis and Ajara will make his selection of goods available when players reach Honored or better with the Hydraxian Waterlords. But with Phase 4 of Season of Discovery releasing, I want to take this opportunity to talk about one, or not even one, the biggest dungeon in all of World of Warcraft, as well as one of the first raids in World of Warcraft that will be coming out soon, where we will get to the raid in a moment. But we have Blackrock Depths, which is the deepest part of Blackrock Mountain, ruled by the Dark Iron Dwarves, who were led by Emperor Daegran Thorson. Several members of the Fire Lord Ragnos also make their home in these lava-lined depths. The depths have many sections, including a prison, Shadowforge City, a vast capital of the Dark Iron Dwarves, and the Grim Guzzler Tavern. Much of the depths was built by Frank Lorne Forgewright, who this character also saw the construction of the Stone Rot Dam. We're getting into Blackrock Depths. It's a little bit of an adventure in and of itself, where you have to go through Blackrock Mountain and you have to go down into the depths across the chains and whatnot. And once you finally get into Blackrock Depths, you enter into a massive dungeon, where this is the biggest dungeon in World of Warcraft history, I believe, where there are so many different bosses, so many different quests, so many different areas, so many different mobs that you will be fighting, and different allies that you will be interacting with, different vendors, different secrets. There's just so much stuff in this dungeon, where I just want to do a brief run through of the dungeon and kind of just highlight some different areas on your screen right now, and kind of highlight a few different bosses, such as High Interrogator Gaston, who is an elite human of the Twilight's Hammer clan, found in the center of the detention block, where she was originally a noblewoman and was Marshal Windsor's interrogator. Who Marshal Windsor is the human who is a big quest person, which I talked about in my Human Mage playthrough, and Gaston is just a very interesting character, who officially in the lore is actually killed by Thargas Anvilmar and Keen Varian Rin and Bro Bearmantle. And then we have Houndmaster Grebmar, who is an elite dwarf mini-boss in the Blackrock Depths, and he resides under the arena, which the arena actually has 3 different layers, which just explains how big of an area this is. But this is the bottom layer, where there are a bunch of pet dogs around him that you can fight. And then right next to that boss, there is Lord Rokor, who is a lava elemental mini-boss, where across Blackrock Depths we have all the Dark Iron Dwarves, but then we also have a lot of elementals from the Firelands, which Ragnos has around here doing his bidding and whatnot. And then we also have the Twilight's Hammer, so we have seen like one of each of those 3 different factions, where the Twilight's Hammer, which is originally an Orcish clan, which basically kind of like took in more members once they came onto Azeroth and were stuck here, where they are basically kind of worshipping the elements and basically trying to bring upon the end of Azeroth, which is a big part of the Cataclysm expansion. But then we have the Ring of Law, which is a very interesting area, because this is a boss fight where you could fight many different bosses, which are actually some pretty cool bosses. And the one we fight is Anub Shia, which is an elite Crypt Fiend that sometimes appears here. And it's really cool that we see a Crypt Fiend here, because this is a minion of the Scourge, a minion of Arthas the Lich King, or Kel'Thuzad the Necromancer. And we can see that we can just kill this Crypt Fiend and basically move on. But it's just really cool that we're fighting like a minion of the Scourge here in Blackrock Depths. But I really just want to reiterate how massive of a dungeon this is, where all that was just the prison section, the first area, where there are a ton of different secrets and like very cool sites that I won't be able to highlight in this video. But I especially love the Dark Iron Highway here, where we have Baelgar at the end of this, who is a massive lava elemental molten giant boss that we can fight. And as I have said, Blackrock Depths is like the biggest dungeon in World of Warcraft, but there were plans for it to be even bigger, where Belgar is guarding the entrance to what would have been another entire area of Blackrock Depths that you can't go through and explore because it wasn't fully developed and it was cut from the game. But this massive dungeon was going to be even bigger than it already is, which is truly kind of a spectacle. Which I really like Blackrock Depths, and a lot of people really like Blackrock Depths because it is a massive dungeon that you will spend a ton of time in, which unfortunately in the modern version of World of Warcraft is not really a big part of the game anymore, where people are just like sprinting through here, skipping a lot of stuff and just trying to get what they want and leaving the group and leaving after that, which is very unfortunate. But if you can find a good group of people that wants to explore the entire dungeon, kill every boss and all the mobs, you will spend a lot of time in this dungeon because there is a lot of stuff to do here. And in the modern version of World of Warcraft, we have all these bosses that I've talked about, but now we have the first official boss of the dungeon that you need to complete in order to complete the dungeon. Everything else is optional bosses, where they streamline this dungeon a little bit, but still have all the bosses there, where we have Lord Insidious, who guards the Black Anvil here, and he's just a fire elemental that serves Ragnos, but we have the Black Anvil, which is a really cool thing, where there are a variety of items that you can craft in World of Warcraft that can only be crafted here at the Black Anvil, and out of all of them there's one of particular note, and that is the Sulfuron Hammer, which you can get a ton of ingredients and create this hammer. And then you can get the Eye of Sulfuras, which is an estimated 3% drop chance from Ragnaros, the final boss of Molten Core, and you can combine the Sulfuron Hammer and the Eye of Sulfuras together to create Sulfuras, Hand of Ragnaros, which is the hammer that Ragnaros is wielding, but is also one of the two first ever legendary weapons or legendary items in all World of Warcraft. So it is a very memorable item in World of Warcraft's history. Moving forward, we have Phineas Darkfire, who is the chief architect of the Dark Iron Dwarves and Shadowforge City, when his predecessor, the great architect Franklorn Forgewright, who we talked about earlier, passed away. And he has a very special hammer known as Ironfell, which was handed down to him, which has a sister hammer, which was also owned by Franklorn Forgewright, called Ironfoe, which is one of the Dark Iron Dwarves' most sacred artifacts. But then we have Warder Stelgis, who is another Dark Iron Dwarf mini-boss found in the Black Vault, where he is just guarding this location that is a pretty cool area, which have some different coffers in here that you can actually open if you get keys from across the dungeon, whereas you open the coffers you can get a variety of different items from them, which is very cool. Then we have Pyromancer Lorgrain, who is a Tauren mini-boss, and he is kneeling in front of the monument to Franklorn Forgewright, and you can place Ironfell there to complete the quest for the Blackrock Depths key, where he is just another shaman who is a member of the Twilight's Hammer, who we see all across this dungeon and we have been fighting. And again, this entire dungeon is so interconnected, and there are so many different things where, like, we've seen like the bridges earlier if you were like paying attention to the screen, and now we are on the top level of the arena, where we were below the arena, then we were in the arena, now we're up above the arena in the spectator stands, and we can like explore all three of these different areas, and they're all three different parts of the dungeon. But then moving forward, we have like the garrison section, where there's like the west and east garrison, where you can open the door through the garrison with this really cool contraption, and then you can find a General Angerforge, who's just a Dark Iron Dwarf boss who you can fight, and you basically just kill him, and he's relatively important for like the Alliance Nixia chain quest. And then also in Cataclysm we kind of learned that he is responsible for killing a ton of people of the 109th Division of the Kargath Expeditionary Force. And then we have Golem Lord Argomak, who Argomac's lifelong obsession with immortality drove him to forge enchanted constructs in his own image. Rumor has it that he has also dabbled in some form of black magic that would allow the Golem Lord's new creations to act as vessels for his spirit should his flesh and blood body be destroyed, where he is just a big golem boss where there are a ton of golems around him. But then we have maybe my favorite part of the dungeon, and it is the Grim Guzzler, where this is a massive bar located here in Shadowforge City, where there are a ton of things going on in this bar, where one really cool thing going on is the Elite Tauren Chieftain Band that we can see in different areas of World of Warcraft actually plays here, where they play once a day at 8 p.m. server time, I believe, and you can check them out and listen to them. Where I believe this was technically added in the Burning Crusade, so we don't really have it in the vanilla version of the game, but it is a fun thing if you're running through here during the modern WoW version of the game and you come here at that time. But there is also a ton of stuff going on here for Brewfest, or there's a special Brewfest boss with some special Brewfest rewards, including like a special Brewfest Kodo, a Brewfest RAM amount that you can unlock. I just said Brewfest many times. But then you also have this room back here where you can break all these kegs and summon Hurley Black Breath, who you can kill. And then you can go up to the top level of the bar and you can kill this gnome, Plugger Spazring, who is a leper gnome and the barkeeper and owner of the Grimgustler Tavern, where he's basically selling all this ale to the Dark Iron Dwarves. And you can kill him, and basically an all-out bar fight begins whenever you kill this enemy. Which is a very fun detail, because when you kill him, the bar fight begins, and then you see this golem basically go to the back door of the Grim Guzzler, or the front door I guess, and he will basically block the door, and then you have to fight him. The golem Phalanx, who is just like another cool boss that I like a lot. But as you leave the Grim Guzzler, you are approaching the end of the dungeon, where you have Ambassador Flamelash, who is a really cool flame walker who you can fight. And he is a servant of the Sophron Harbinger, who we will talk about in just a moment. But then we have the Trial of the Seven, where the Seven were Dark Iron Dwarves of great knowledge and power, and the patriarchs of the Dark Iron Nation. They were the dwarves who, alongside with Thorson, summoned Ragnaros the Fire Lord to Azeroth. Though they died during the summoning and their people became enslaved by Ragnaros as a result, they seem to think that coming of the Fire Lord is a blessing, where they will come one by one and fight your group, or yourself if you're here by yourself, and you can kill them one by one, and once all of them die, you can go ahead and loot the chest here. But moving forward, we have a massive chamber known as the Lyceum, which is a really cool open area that has a ton of pillars, and this really resembles the Halls of Moria from the Lord of the Rings from Middle-earth, which is a really cool area that I like a lot, and this is kind of a cool reference and calling to that. And in here are just a ton of Dark Iron Dwarves that you need to fight, and you need to gather some torches from a couple of special Dark Iron Dwarves to ignite the braziers to open the room to the next boss, who is Magnus, who is another Molten Giant boss that you can fight, and he is basically guarding the entrance to the final boss of the dungeon, where we have Emperor Daegrin Thorson, who is the Emperor of the Dark Iron Clan, along with his wife Moria Thorson, the estranged daughter of King Magni Bronzebeard. He is notorious for pledging the Dark Iron clans in service to the Elemental Lord Ragnaros, who his ancestor Sorcerer Thane Thorson successfully summoned to the mortal plane. His allegiance to the Fire Lord led to his eventual downfall when he was killed by forces of the Alliance sent by Magni. He was succeeded by Mora, who rules until their son Daegrin Thorson II is of age to take over the leadership of not only the Dark Irons, but of Ironforge itself. Emperor Daegrin Thorson is the final boss of Blackrock Depths, and after exploring every part of this dungeon, or just kind of like beelining straight here, you have completed Blackrock Depths. But there is more, because right after the Seven and before you enter the Lyceum, there is another path that you can go down to where you can find this bridge, and this bridge leads to Molten Core, which is one of the two first raids available for players in World of Warcraft, which this raid will be unlocking soon in the Season of Discovery, and I thought I would just run through it and explore it as well. Where in a way you could consider Blackrock Depths as a massive dungeon, and then you can consider Molten Core as kind of an extension to this dungeon, though most of the time when you're doing Molten Core, you kind of just like run through here straight to Molten Core, or there is an NPC that you can talk to that will teleport you straight to Molten Core, which is nice. Where the Molten Core is a level 60 raid dungeon located within Blackrock Mountain, home and seat of power to Ragnaros the Fire Lord. It was one of two 40-player raid dungeons available upon release of World of Warcraft, the other being Onyxia's Lair, where in Season of Discovery I believe there are 20-player raids. Considered the pinnacle of raiding achievement at the time, the Molten Core enticed adventurers to enter the instance in the search of realm glory. The sulfuric Molten Core is a gateway from the Firelands to Azeroth, where basically this is the heart of Blackrock Mountain, the deepest part of the Blackrock Depths, where we have all these different enemies around here and bosses that we can fight, and many of these enemies are from the Firelands that are coming here into Azeroth, starting out in Molten Core, and they make their way up out of Blackrock Mountain. But to go through all the bosses, we have kind of an interesting thing going on. For first, we have Lucifron, who is one of 4 Flamewalker captains of Ragnaros, where there are 4 different Flamewalker captains around the raid that you can fight, and fighting all 4 of them will allow you to fight a 5th Flamewalker, who also has a bunch of different companions with him, where we have Lucifron here, who is the first, and I will highlight all the others as we get to them. So basically these 4 Flamewalker captains serve as kind of like half the bosses before the final 2 bosses, where the other half of the bosses are basically like the most powerful versions of different minions of Ragnaros, where we have the Flamewalkers that serve Ragnaros, but we also have a bunch of other creatures, where here we have Magmadar, a terrifying behemoth composed of igneous rock and roiling magma. Magmadar serves as the origin of the core hounds that roam the earthen halls of Molten Core. Favored among Ragnaros' pets, Magmadar is protected by the Flamewalker Lucifron and surrounded by vicious packs of ravenous hounds. It is said that while Ragnaros was imprisoned in the elemental plane, the Fire Lord would feed the remains of his captured enemies to the eagerly awaiting twin maws of Magmadar. As a result, the hound grew strong and loyal, and even now Magmadar's savage ferocity remains uncontested. Which I think core hounds are just really cool creatures. But then we have Gehinnis, which I believe is how you pronounce that name, which is another one of the Flamewalkers. And then we have Gar, who is a lava elemental boss. So he's kind of like a massive earth fire elemental that you can fight, and kind of represents all those other earth lava elementals that you fight throughout the Molten Core and also in like Blackrock Depths and whatnot. But then we have Shazra, who's another one of the Flamewalker bosses. And running in near him is Baron Geddon, who is a fire elemental boss found in the Molten Core, where he patrols near Shazra's spawn location area while guarding the Rune of Zeth. Where this is basically kind of like the massive fire elemental of the raid, and he is really, really cool, and is probably one of the most popular bosses in this raid, where he actually plays a part in the Cataclysm expansion, which is really cool, and is something that I'm probably going to highlight on a stream soon. But then we have an area where you can actually drop down to the next boss, which is often what I do, and we have Golemag, the Incinerator, who is the last boss of the bosses that kind of represents some of the various powerful creatures, where he represents the Molten Giants, where they're just massive like lava and earth elementals that you can fight, and we fought a couple of them in Blackrock Depths, and we have the most massive of them here, where he also has a couple of core rangers that are protecting him. But then we have the Sulfuron Harbinger, who I mentioned earlier in Blackrock Depths, and he is among the most favored of the Flamewalkers, and he is the terrifying herald of Ragnaros himself. From the infernal depths of the Molten Core, the Harbinger commands Ambassador Flamelash and the other lesser Flamewalkers in the outside world. Sulfuron Harbinger answers only to Executus and guards the Rune of Coral, one of the several runes that empower the Fire Lord's servants. Sulfuron Harbinger keeps Shazra in particular under close watch, believing that Shazra seeks to betray Ragnaros. Flanked by 4 of the Fire Lord's most fervid priests, the Harbinger prepares for the day when the elemental Lord of Fire claims the world of Azeroth for his own. Where we have all of these different runes of warding: the Rune of Cress, guarded by Magmadar, the Rune of Mon, protected by Gehinnis, the Rune of Blaz, protected by Gar, the Rune of Zeth, protected by Baron Geddon, the Rune of Maj, protected by Shazra, the Rune of Coral, protected by Sulfuron Harbinger, and the Rune of Theory, protected by Golemag, the Incinerator. Whereas you kill all of the different bosses around the Molten Core and deactivate the various runes of warding, you can fight Majordomo Executus. At the top of the elemental hierarchy, just beneath Ragnaros himself, resides Executus. This Flamewalker gained his exalted status by proving to be nearly invincible in the battles that raged within the elemental plane. Rumor has it that Executus supplanted Baron Geddon, and the two have been rivals ever since. Although this rumor has yet to be confirmed, there is certainly no doubt that Ragnaros does not tolerate failure. Thus, the lesser Flamewalkers, and of course Baron Geddon, eagerly await a misstep by Executus, anticipating their chance to vie for the coveted attention of the Fire Lord. Where after you kill the 8 various bosses of the raid, you can fight this boss, where this boss does make a mistake. Where he will take you to the center of the Molten Core, and he will summon the final boss in the raid, Ragnaros, who is the elemental Lord of Fire. After being summoned to Azeroth by Sorcerer Thane Thorison, he took control of Blackrock Mountain and ruled there for more than 200 years, over his minions from deep inside its fiery core. He aligned himself with Deathwing and the Old God's forces in the effort to bring about the Hour of Twilight. During the Cataclysm, Ragnaros laid siege to the sacred Mount Hyjal in an attempt to incinerate the royal tree Nordiso, unleashing his most powerful minions in the process. Despite the incredible destructive forces at his disposal, the Sonoran Circle, aided by mortal champions of Azeroth, were able to lay siege to the Fire Lord's domain, where they bested all the challenges he laid before them, and eventually destroyed him within his own fortress. Years after his death, he was replaced as Fire Lord by Smolderon, who dies in the Dragonflight expansion. Ragnaros was known to be seconded by a Majordomo, where we have Baron Geddon, and then we have Executus, and then we have Fandros Staghelm, who becomes Ragnaros' second-in-command during the Cataclysm expansion, who is a very important Night Elf character that I've talked about in my different Let's Play episodes. But Ragnaros is just a super, super cool boss who is a pretty important part of World of Warcraft, and he is the final boss of the Molten Core. Where with that, I have talked a lot about the Blackrock Depths and the Molten Core, and I also talked about the patch notes for Season of Discovery. And as I've been doing all that, I have explored a lot of the Hinterlands, where I have completed many different quests around here, where we have killed many different trolls, and a lot of wildlife, for I forgot how much wildlife you killed during the Hinterlands Horde quests, but there are just so many quests around the zone as a Horde player, and it's been a ton of fun running through here and exploring all of it. I mentioned earlier that this would be one of the last times that we come to the Eastern Kingdoms, but I'm thinking next episode we will actually be spending a lot more time in the Eastern Kingdoms, and then maybe after that we will spend like one more episode here, just highlighting some more cool aspects of the Horde and their conquests around Azeroth. But we also killed a bunch of oozes, and we killed a bunch of high elves, and we had a very cool quest where we went into the center of Airy Peak. And I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and call this episode good here, where I do really hope you all enjoyed watching this episode and exploring the Hinterlands and exploring part of Blackrock Mountain. And I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember, as always, to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.